When I was around 12 years old, I was potentially kidnapped. I was sitting in my living room, which has a large window facing the main road, when I heard someone knock on the door in the mudroom. It's right off the living room. My dad was downstairs playing on his drum set, and it was well into the evening. I thought it was strange, but I figured maybe it was someone who wanted to ask him to play a little bit quieter. We've had many noise complaints over the years. When I opened the main door, there was a man, probably in his 40s or 50s, wearing what looked like casual business clothes. He was just standing there, and I definitely didn't recognize him. I didn't really think much of it, but kept the screen door closed as a precaution. Here's how I vaguely remember our encounter playing out. I was wondering if I could use your phone. I need to call someone. No, sorry, we don't have a landline and I don't have a cell phone. I lied because I had a bad gut feeling. Oh, that's okay. Do you think I could at least have a glass of water? I can wait here while you grab it. Sorry, we just moved in and we haven't unpacked our glasses yet. Again, this was a huge lie, but I panicked. Through the window, you could clearly see that we had lived here for some time. The creepy guy was trying to be way too friendly now. Oh, that's alright. Do you have a hose that I could drink from? I was definitely freaked out now. Yeah, it's actually right there in the ground. I pointed to the outdoor hose a couple feet from the door. Oh, thank you. Do you think you could come turn it on for me? Sorry, I don't know how it works. He was clearly getting angry now. Oh, come on, you don't know how to use a hose. At this point, my fight or flight was in full force, so I slammed the door shut and locked it, and I ran downstairs to my dad. I told him what happened, and he stormed outside with a baseball bat, but the guy was gone by the time my dad got outside, and I never saw him again after that. It still freaks me out to think of what he might have done if he got a hold of me. When I was younger, somewhere between 5 or 8, a distant family member who supposedly was well loved had passed, and one of his final wishes for the last celebration of his life was to take place at his childhood home. His son DJ decided to respect these wishes and contacted the current owner of the house to ask if a small gathering could be hosted on the premises and entirely outside. As far as DJ and everyone else could tell, the homeowner was kind and understanding and agreed, offering to help out but being clear on boundaries and such. Fast forward to the event itself. The family is arriving, I would say around 3 in the afternoon, and I have this horrible anxious feeling deep in my stomach that I can't shake. I mentioned it to my mom, saying something silly that I probably had heard on TV about my gut feeling and my parents, and they shrug it off and tell me it's fine and to come on. I trust my parents, so I step out of the car, all dressed in a cute dress and layered in cheap plastic jewelry. I think Mardi Gras beads that I proudly chose myself to appear formal for this serious occasion. My mom, my dad, and I all walked towards the backyard, aiming towards the right-hand side of the house as the inside was off limits, due to it being private property when a man busts out of the front door holding a bat. This is not just a normal baseball bat intended to occupy the children, no. This man busts out of his front door, screams at everyone, talking about how horrible we are and how our family is disgusting, all while gripping a beat-up baseball bat full of nails. Immediately I panic and my fight or flight, in this case flight, kicks in, and I make a beeline to our old blue car that I only just got dragged out of by my dad. I jump in and slam the door behind me, panicking with tear-blurred vision and an incredibly upset stomach. When I look out the window and see the man, the crazy man who made the quick decision to target an elementary-age little girl as he took a swing at the car, and he hit above the back tire, creating a loud ringing and a dent. My dad, who took like 5 hours but probably around 10 seconds, pushes the man away and jumps in, my mom following quickly behind. We speed away from the house and back home, not mentioning a thing except for how proud of me they were for running, and that they'll listen to me if I ever have that horrible gut feeling that something is wrong again. though both my mom and dad kept shooting quick glances behind the car and whispering to each other. My family never discussed the event with me around again, but when I asked my mom what had happened years later, she explained to me that the man decided to do a Google search on DJ and found his estranged criminal brother's records on Google and decided that this was evidence enough to attack a family during a wake with a nailed baseball bat. Two years ago, I was the last person left in my college apartment before the winter holidays. I had a final the next morning, a short shift at work, and then I was headed home. Because of this, I was awake at around 3 in the morning watching TV and studying. Out of nowhere, I hear this pounding on the front door. This is very, very odd. I'm the only one left out of 4 girls in the apartment. Most of the complex is gone because they had finished finals early, and I live on the top 3rd floor of the building closest to the main office. I sneak up to answer the door, wondering if it's one of my roommates. My room is the closest to the front door, so it's all of 3 steps to peek through the peephole in the door. There are about 5 people outside, 4 guys and 1 girl. All of the men were shirtless and some of them were wearing shorts. It was about 20 degrees outside and snowing. Most of them were hanging back on the walkway, but the man who was knocking on the door was bent over it, one arm up against the door and leaving his other hand free to just pound on it. I heard them talking, but I couldn't make out any words. For some reason, the girl unnerved me the most. Let's recap. 3 in the morning, mostly empty apartment complex, 5 people shirtless, banging repeatedly on my door, all while it's snowing. Needless to say, I just pretended I wasn't even there, even though I stood watching them through the peephole. I think I ran off to mute my TV just in case. They stayed there for about 5 minutes while the one guy just knocked away, but they finally left and headed farther down the walkway. I still have no idea what they were on about, and I didn't sleep very well that night. I was a 17-year-old student in France when all of this happened. I was living in an apartment next to my college's campus with 2 roommates. Let's call them Alex and Polly. I was coming back from my class at around 5:30 p.m. when I saw a guy waiting in front of our building. It was the kind of old building where you can enter without ringing. It was a big residence, so I just walked by him without really caring about why he was there. 15 minutes later, the same guy came up to my apartment. He pretended that he was one of Alex's friends, and that he was waiting for him, but Alex was late. He also told me the exact place where Alex was doing an internship at the time and even told me about his schedule for the day. With all the information that he gave me, I was confident that they knew each other, so I let him in. For the record, Alex's father used to work for a big company at the time, so even by looking it up on the internet, it was impossible to find anything about him. As a good host, I offered him something to drink and started talking with him while waiting for Alex. The conversation quickly turned to darker when he started to tell me about his past and about the amount of weapons he was keeping at his home in France. Around here, it really is unusual to have a gun at home, except if you are a hunter or in a profession that requires one. It was getting late, and as the conversation got darker, I started to feel uncomfortable with him, so I decided to send a text to Alex just to let him know that his friend was here, and that I wasn't really feeling comfortable with him. Alex answered me a few minutes later asking me to send a picture of his friend, just to see who was here. So I took my phone out and discreetly took a picture of the person in front of me. After receiving it, Alex just told me that he was on his way home. When Alex arrived, I was relieved. He came into the living room and said hello to his friend, but then he just sat down and an awkward silence came along with it. After about a minute, I received a text from Alex telling me, "I don't know this guy." At that moment, I thought he was joking around, but after seeing his face, I knew that he was serious. So here we are, two young college students stuck with a stranger that apparently knows a lot about Alex without even meeting him. We were both really young at the time and we didn't really react in a good way. Every human being in this kind of situation would have called the police or asked him to leave, but we were really lost and didn't know about it. And we were scared of his reaction if we would have asked him to leave, so we thought, hey, let's eat early so he'll feel uncomfortable about not being invited for dinner and he'll leave. But as we were dining in the kitchen, he just stayed in the living room and started to watch TV without even asking us. At the same time, our third roommate Polly just came home from work. She entered the apartment and said hi to the guy in the living room before joining us in the kitchen. She then asked who he was and wasn't really happy when we told her we didn't have any idea of who he was or how to make him leave. We explained to her our dumb strategy of just living our life until he felt uncomfortable and then he would leave. And she started to act with us and just tell us about her day. At that moment, Polly was going through a rough period and was telling us about it. Not a really fun story to tell or listen to, but while she was telling us about her misery, the guy in the living room joined us in the kitchen and started laughing about Polly's story before going back to watch TV. It was really creepy. At this moment, Alex had enough and asked us to leave the apartment while he was going to deal with the guy. And this is what happened when we left. Alex got back to the living room and started to act like he was about to go to bed. Another dumb strategy, yes I know. His room was opening on the living room, so he had told the guy that he was about to go to bed and left the door half opened while starting to remove his jewelry. He noticed that the guy on the couch wasn't moving, or caring about the fact that there was no one left in the apartment except Alex that was in his room. Alex went up to him and told him that maybe it was time for him to leave as he was his friend and that he was going to sleep, but the guy replied to him, "I'm waiting for the girls." Alex got mad and finally put him out of the apartment. At the same time, Polly and I were going back in the building and met the guy on the stairs. He wished us a good night with a creepy smile and he left. Going back to the apartment, Alex told us what happened and we started to ask ourselves, who was that guy? How did he know Alex's name and surname? How did he know where he was and his working schedule? How did he find our address? We spent a part of the night trying to find answers without any success. We learned from our mistakes and decided to never open the door again to someone that we didn't know. 2 weeks later, Polly was chilling in her room and she was home alone. Her window was giving a view on the parking lot, and as she was looking through it, she saw a red car parking. The guy was back. Polly got the very good idea to note his license plate and to verify that the door was locked. The guy came up to the apartment and told Polly the exact same thing that he had told me the first time he came. Polly got mad and told him that if he was still there in 5 minutes, that she would call the police. It was the last time that he came. A few weeks later, Alex came back home after work telling us that he finally remembered where he already had met the guy. So here's the story. Alex used to go to a bar where you were able to play video games while drinking. Apparently the guy was in the same bar at the machine next to him and tried to talk to Alex, but he was too focused on his game and only took the time to tell him a quick hello. Well, that guy probably followed Alex around for a week or two after that day. We moved out of the apartment a few months after this story. Luckily, I haven't seen the guy since then. I want to start off by saying that I'm a stay-at-home mom. A very stay-at-home loner mom, and with my family so far away, it didn't feel right to have them worry. I just wanted to tell my story, whether someone reads it or not, it doesn't really matter. I'm not a writer by any means, and this was just my thoughts and a recap of my night. Tonight, I tucked my oldest kid into bed and on my way out to the new nightly ritual of feeding my neighbor's cat, my husband made a joke about wanting corn dogs from 7-Eleven. I don't get out much and don't mind, so I said we needed milk anyways and we went on our way. The neighbors were uneventful, except for one cat hooked her nail into my middle finger when I was giving her treats. Because of this, I left earlier than usual and headed straight to the store. It was just after 9 p.m. and I pulled up to the 7-Eleven, parking alongside the side of the building. Unobstructed windows spanning the entire length of the building, and it's well lit. I immediately noticed a gentleman in blue standing up on the sidewalk. I pay no mind but start gathering my things. My finger still really hurts though. I'm taking my time and cursing that gorgeous cat when I hear a man's voice mumble something. My window was partially open, but my windshield is already fogging up, and when I look up to see that he's walking towards my passenger side, he starts trying to open the door, but thank God my kids have broke that door handle and it won't open. I immediately step out of my car, and with me standing in my open door, looking out across the windshield, I say, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And he starts saying over and over, "Are you yellow cab? Are you yellow cab?" And I say again, "I don't know you. I'm not letting you in my car." He realizes that he can't get in and people are watching, so he starts to walk away from my car and I run inside. I'm a little shaken up, but I try to sum it up to mistaken identity. We live in a small town and our cabs are just random cars. I'm walking around and trying to make sure that he isn't near my car, and at one point, I see him looking like he's walking away. I call my husband and tell him a little bit of what happened, just to hear him say it's probably nothing. Corn dogs in hand, I walk out and head towards my car. Visions of this guy in my backseat flashing through my head. I see him walking away from my car, but now he has a backpack. Something flashes on the side of the pack and it hits me. I didn't lock my door when I ran inside. This POS has my 5-year-old son's backpack. I thought that he might bolt, but he started walking back towards me instead. I said again, "That's my son's backpack," and he again starts saying, "Are you yellow cab? Are you yellow cab?" I yell louder, "That's my son's backpack. Give me it back." For a millisecond, I even considered the fact that this might not be my son's backpack and I panic. But I'm convinced the moment that I see the bus pass. This man is still going on about yellow cab, and I looked at him furious. Mama Bear was upset. I take an extra long look at what he was wearing. Hospital blue pajama pants and a deep but vibrant blue hoodie, with a WOT logo in the O at some hemisphere lines of something in it. All of this happens in a few seconds, and I just remember looking at him, upset, and telling him that he's asked for stealing a little kid's backpack and that he should get out of here. Maybe it's because I live in Canada, or maybe it was because I didn't leave the area where I could be seen, but he started walking away. I went inside immediately and told the clerks, but I don't think any of us knew what to do. For a second, I wasn't going to call the cops. It's just a backpack. But I just couldn't help but think about him trying to get into my car with me in it, so I did call the police. I started telling them what was happening, and then I saw the guy again. I followed him while I was on the phone and I parked way ahead of him. And time passed quickly when you're on the phone with the cops, and the guy passed by my car. He turns back and sees that it's me and turns around. I haven't turned off my car, so I panic, but I shift into drive and start driving away. The man wasn't scared. He was actually walking back to my car. As I'm driving away, I tell the officer, "What the F I was thinking, this is so dangerous. I gave you his description and his general location, I'm going home." We finished the conversation on the way, and I gave them my info and the guys. I don't know why I followed him. I follow a lot of true crime, and I guess I just could not report a man trying to get into my car. I told the police the same. I got off the phone and I went inside. My husband is good at pointing out people's hardships, and it is clear this man had mental health issues, and I suppose some addiction issues. He was rather thin with large scabs on his face. He kind of dumbed down how I feel about it, but I think that's why I wanted to write this. What happened, it scared me, and I don't know why I did what I did. All of it seems pretty stupid. I approached the guy and I drove after him. God, I'm ridiculously slow sometimes. I did get the backpack back, but it was stupid. I received a phone call 5 minutes before I started writing this and the police had got in. He's got to the station for the night because he is extremely intoxicated. The officer's words. We pulled up with our lights on and he asked if we were a yellow cab. A part of me feels like maybe he was just a drunk or something, but a part of me thinks this guy was using that as an excuse to why he would be thinking to get into my car. I definitely had an adrenaline rush and now I'm just kind of tired. Thanks for reading. It was a weird night.